We need to engage or help facilitate the engagement of Islam and modernity, Islam and religious pluralism. It is happening. It is trying to be done in some places, but it is very hard because there are people who do not want that to occur. And so we have to do what we can do. We can't lead this discussion any more than we would want a group of Muslims telling us how to deal with our problems within the Christian faith. And we got problems. Unfortunately, these problems threaten our security. And we ain't going to let it alone. We're not going to let it go. So we need this kind of dialogue. Third, ultimately, energy. Energy, energy, energy. For 300 years, this problem sat and went nowhere. There were always radical, the Wahhabists have been around for a long time. But it wasn't until the House of Saud took over Arabia that everything changed when the oil started to flow. Oil is the problem. $100 oil is the problem. You have a group of people who have access to resources, who now can buy the technology off the shelf and project power around the world. And they don't have a country. Or in the case of Iran, they do have a country, but don't care whether you hit them or not. It's a tough enemy. You got to defund them. You got to take their money away. I was the author of the Iran Freedom and Support Act, worked with the Iranian community on trying to do something to stop the economy of Iran so they can't move forward. Trying to fund, as I did with this bill, pro-democracy groups within Iran. I meet with dissidents all the time. There is hope. Got to cut off the spigot of funding. And we're not doing anything. We're sitting around saying, no, we can't drill off the coast of Florida while China drills off the coast of Florida. I mean, it's just, we're just ridiculous. We're not developing technologies to make our consumption of energy more efficient. We're living as if this is not related to the security situation of the world, and it is. Now, where do we go from here? Well, I think we're at a point right now in this country where we're going the wrong way. If the elections are anything like the elections we saw yesterday, we're going to see a big change in this government. And this government's going to move in a different direction. I think we're in a situation that's very similar, although not identical for sure, to what was going on in Europe prior to the war. Yes, we're engaged in the war, but now we're talking about whether we're going to continue this war, at least for now, at least the engagements that we're in. America is doubting whether we should do this. I'm going to quote Winston Churchill, who said this on June 14th, 1940. Quote, "What General Weygand called the Battle of France is over. I expect that the Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends on our own British life and the long continuity of our institution and our empire. The whole fury and might of our enemy will soon be turned upon us. Hitler knows that he will have to break us in this island or lose the war. If we can't stand up to him, all Europe may be free, and the life of the world may move forward into broad, sunlit uplands. But if we fail, then the whole world, including the United States, including all that we have known and cared for, will sink into the abyss of a new dark age, made more sinister and perhaps more protracted by the lights of perverted science. Let us therefore brace ourselves to do our duties, and so bear ourselves, that if the British Empire and its Commonwealth last for 1,000 years, men will say, this is their finest hour. This is America's hour. Britain was alone in 1940. We will be alone in this fight. Europe will not be with us. Britain may, doubt it, be with us. We will be alone. And unlike Britain, we will be criticized for doing what we're doing every step of the way. Every step of the way. Tom Brokaw called the generation that fought this war the greatest generation. So let's reflect. What did the greatest generation in American history do in June of 1940 as the bombs started to drop on Britain? What did the greatest generation do in July of 1940, August, September, November, December, and almost all of 1941? What did they do? Nothing. They sat and watched what is seen by Americans today as the personification of evil itself, Adolf Hitler and the German Nazi war machine. Watched it and did nothing. As all of our ancestral heritages were put in this dark age, we did nothing, this great generation. What did Congress do? In the summer of 1941, there was a bill to institute selective service, just to not draft anybody, just set up the mechanism for the draft. The Battle of Britain waged, darkness spreading through the South Pacific and China and India. What did the American Congress do? It passed the draft by one vote. So see, you as Americans follow a very noble tradition. We hate war. We think that people are like us and that we can just reason with them. That they want what we want. That they think like we think. Even Adolf Hitler, when you read his book, it's clear. How clear could it have been? Yet, we try to delude ourselves that it's not real. Read Ahmadinejad's book. It is clear what he wants to do. Read bin Laden's book. Read them all. It's clear what they want to do. And yet, we pause. Yet we think somehow or another that we can work it out. Well, you may be right. We may be able to work it out. This all may, if we withdraw, this may be just a problem that's going to be fomenting in the Middle East, and these people are just going to fight among themselves. And leave us alone. Let us have our nice, big, fat, happy lives here in America. And if that's the case, all of you can look back on this night and say, what an idiot that Santorum was. Boy, did he blow that one. And you know what? I hope that happens. I pray every day that happens. I pray every day that that's the future course. But I don't think it's going to be. And if it isn't, if what I've said to you today strikes any grain of truth, then we got some work to do. We got some work to do here in America. Prepare them properly, Major.